All right, welcome everyone to the Tuesday night MTOI Torah study. Very good to see everyone in here. Again, apologies that last week we were not able to record or even have the session. Some people didn't realize that we really just didn't have the session, so they're wondering how they can get the archive. There was no archive. We didn't have the session last week. The technology, for whatever reason, did not work. And so we missed that one, but we are very blessed and glad to be here tonight for tonight's Torah study. Okay, and I'll be hosting it tonight. Good to be back and good to be with everyone. All right, why don't we start off with, I guess I can start off with a wave. How's that? Okay, here we go. For those who, blue. Whoever said blue, Greg, you're right, but it's not the MTOI shirt. My wife just bought me this shirt with long sleeves, and I haven't worn a long sleeve shirt yet this winter. So I do have my coin here. So blue was the shirt of the day, but it wasn't the MTOI shirt. Okay. Hi, everyone. Shalom, shalom. Blessings. You see all this mess behind me? That's all going away, and we're going to be doing this from the new building, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We'll get this worked out. Okay, let me stop the camera here. All right, there we go. Okay, let's see. Glad you're back. Voice sounds great. Appreciate that. Still have a little bit of a cough, but I'm feeling much better. Appreciate that, everyone. Okay, so what we're going to do for those of you that are familiar and those of you that are not familiar with what we're doing, we're going to do a Torah study tonight. We're going to be going through the Torah portion called Beshalach, and we'll go through that here in a little bit. We missed Parsha Parsha Bo, which means go. And hopefully you guys are following along and know what you were supposed to study last week. I'll make some more announcements about that here in a little bit. But in the meantime, let's start off with prayer. So if you have a prayer need or praise report, you go ahead and type it in or raise your hand. And we'll go ahead and deal with those things first. And then I'll make a few more announcements about how we're going to deal with this missed Torah portion. Okay. Let's see. We got Arthur says many praises. Let his mother's estate settled. No disputes or contesting. Lawyer reduced his fee by about a third. Real estate agent fee reduced by 4%. I'm going to 4% from 5%. And Arthur got an unexpected year and bonus pay all in 1 week. Wow! Praise Yah. We thank the Father for his abundant blessings. Let's see. Alana. Shalom, everyone. Unspoken prayers, please. Alva, brand new here. I'm not getting sound. Somebody type into her that the sound is working. Okay, let's see. Prayers for work. This is from Steve Waffle. Prayers for work matters for myself. For work matters for myself. Steve also looking for favor via court matter tomorrow. All right. Let's see. Crystal prays that I get to attend with Beth Echad this Shabbat. Okay. Ryan and Jamie. Shalom, everyone. Sorry we're a little late. All right, cool. No problem. Unspoken for April. Several unspokens for Rick Berry. Prayer request for Earl. Been sick and running a fever and been in bed all day and night. My foot is really sore and hard to put pressure on it. Okay. I'm sorry, that was Candace. My eyes got dyslexically across the wrong one. Earl says that he's got praise for many blessings and continued prayers as well. So Candace has been sick and running a fever all day, etc. Adrian and Patricia, continue prayers for Adrian for his studies preparing for the PMP exam. Also, continue prayers for healing his frozen shoulder. Adrian, where my brother went to college in Cornell University, they had a hot truck that came around with sandwiches, and PMP meant poor man's pizza. So are you preparing to make a poor man's pizza, which was basically Italian bread with sauce and cheese? Okay. Or French bread with sauce and cheese. Let's see. Nancy, unspoken, please. Thank you. John, Robin, and Tia. John needs prayers for healing and a job for Tia, our daughter. Raymond's excited that the Torah study is working this week. Okay, Tommy and Selena, my boys had surgery Friday. They're still pitiful and unable to eat. Luke says he's getting better because Rabbi Steve says stubborn people get better faster, and everyone knows I'm stubborn. That's good. I like that. Awesome. Let's see. Dave Sanderson. Shalom, everybody. We're glad to be joining for the first time from Orangeville, Ontario, Canada. Awesome. I just had a visit today from somebody also from Ontario on their way back to Canada from Florida. And so it was good to have that sort of Ontario connection. Okay, Crystal Murphy, Trueheart Murphy Janice. Okay, that's a long name. Mother-in-law is stable after massive heart attack and prayers for her husband's colon test tomorrow and my physical strength. Absolutely. Aaron Murray, prayer, going to see a GI doctor tomorrow, and I'm praying that the doctor will be able to help me with my constant pain, either how to manage it better or how to help the pain itself. It's a real problem that limits everything in my life to the days I'm not in pain, which are few. Okay? All right. Eilena, Sarah Beth, and the red girl, Sarah Beth, prayer for the whiplash and that insurance would accept the claim. Eilena, prayer for Maurice. He's still sick. We changed what we were doing, prayers that it'll work and we can get back to fellowship, and also prayers that no one in the family gets sick. Okay, Greg and Mary, prayer. Mary's mom, Darlene, having pain in left hip and back, had previous hip replacement, doctor appointment next Tuesday to troubleshoot issue. Jim says maybe the PMP would take care of my frozen shoulder. It probably won't, but it tastes good. Okay. Raymond wasn't hearing, and he was hearing. Okay, let's see. More people excited that the study is working in tonight. Charlie and Joanna joining from Central Arkansas. Rena Kaufman, many unspoken prayers. Olivier and Janet, shalom. Please pray for our small group here in Houston. Can congregate together for Shabbat as we are planning to do so. Absolutely. Jean is joining for the first time on this application from Sale Creek, Tennessee. AJ Bogle, praise Abba for the rain over here on the West Coast on a lot of complaints and evacuation orders in SB, but we absolutely needed it. Okay, let's see. SB, is that Santa Barbara? I don't know where SB is. Okay, Eilena, okay, yes, good. Santa Barbara, good guess on my part. All right, Eilena and the crew over there, also Sarah Beth, praise for answers from the chiropractor and praise for a good job. All right, Harold Olson, prayer for daughter with pain in hip and radiates down leg, needs to use cane to walk. I've had some of those kind of challenges, and that is not fun. All right, we'll certainly pray for that. Tammy Harvey, lost job due to refusal to work on Saturday, prayer to obtain another. All right. Tammy, was that the Amazon job? Okay. You'll need to call me. Okay, well, call me. Are you working tomorrow, or did you lose it as of like immediately? I'm just waiting for an answer here real quickly. Immediately. Okay, so give me a call tomorrow so we can talk about options for you and things you might want to do. Talk to your roommate. Apparently they're hiring at Mars, not the planet, but the factory, and that's a place you might be able to get some work over with her at Mars. You guys can share the commute. That could possibly work. Okay, Sarah Beth has an opportunity maybe for you there. All right. I lost track of where I was. Let me go back up. Crystal. Okay, I saw that. James. Okay, prayers please for healing for my 5-year-old son's broken toe that hasn't healed. It has been broken for several months now. Rabbi Tom, prayer for Joanne. Adrian and Patricia, continue prayers for Patricia. She's really doing well. And through the worst of her cancer treatment, she's down to 1 infusion every 3 weeks, with the last one ending in April. She is still experiencing neuropathy in her hands and feet. Pray for healing. Beth Smith, prayer. I got a call back from my doctor with results from lab work. Something is amiss, and they want me to come back in. Prayers that it isn't anything serious. Absolutely. Jonathan Thompson, praise Abba, today is my birthday. Hey, happy birthday, Jonathan. Prayers for family waiting in ICU for family members lungs, and breathing situation. Prayers for an upgraded job opportunity pending. Certainly all of that. Robert. Okay, no private messages, please. I'm trying to let folks into the study and can't switch screens and still see them. You please don't private message Robert or myself or any of the hosts while we're in the study. It is almost impossible for us to get to them. Okay, if it's something you don't want to put on the screen, you'll just have to wait and talk to us about it privately afterwards. All right, let's see. Randy Baker, Rachel Johnson's mother-in-law, passed away at 3 today. Prayers for her, her husband, and all the family. Absolutely. All right, let's see. I forgot what I was talking about here. Okay, prayers. Adrian and Patricia, prayers for Adrian as he's starting to put feelers out for jobs in Chattanooga. Awesome. Okay, let's see. And AJ thinks that's great, Dad. Okay, that was for you, Adrian. All right. Aaron Sullivan, prayers for a family I met at Sukkot 2 years ago. I don't know many details, but ran into the husband at the store yesterday and found out that his wife recently left him and their 5 young children, and she is taking them all through a very messy court proceeding. Well, that's really harsh and hard to deal with. Certainly we'll pray about that. Olivia and Janet, Rabbi, any chance we can call you tonight after the study? Yes, you can. Tomorrow would be fine, too. Okay, let me hold on. Let me just look at, before I start saying things like that, I should really look at my calendar and see what I am doing tomorrow. I think tomorrow should be okay. Let me just check. Yep, tomorrow's fine. If you want to give me a call tomorrow, should be okay. Otherwise, later tonight after the study. Just remind me at the end when we start doing the countdown, and I'll see if I can do it tonight. Sooner is always better than later. Okay, Dave and Alice Corey, prayers for Alice. Shoulder surgery scheduled for next Thursday. Praying for a simple fix with no complications. Let's see. It looks like just about most of them there. Also, I want to add prayers for the Bork family and praises because they have a new baby. They didn't give a whole lot more details as far as I know at this point about the baby. I think they want to share with their children first, but there is a new baby, and so we're excited about that. And now this is really strange, and I don't have an answer for it at this point, but this is the 6th consecutive Tuesday-born baby in Beshalach. 6 babies in a row, all born on Tuesdays. And so I don't know what that means. I hadn't really thought about it until someone pointed it out to me this week. And so, you know, we have the last 6 babies that were born here were all born on Tuesdays, apparently. Okay. Let's see. Rob Wyatt, prayer for Tamara's upcoming ACT. Walter and Rachel, prayers for medical test results. Okay. What else was I adding? Okay, so I added the Brittany and the baby and the Bork family. Continued prayers for the finishing up of the building. We're getting the office side done, and it's really coming along great. We're very excited about what we're going to be able to do once we get the building finished. And so continued prayer for all those that are moving to the area. It looks like we have families lined up for February and March for sure. And also, I think we have somebody in January as well. So continued prayer also for me closing on our house. It looks like everything is still green light go on that. So selected the homeowner's insurance today. All the other things look like they're all lined up well. So I should be closing on Thursday, January 31st, unless they want to close sooner. So that is as things look at the moment. All right. And I think that covers it. Anybody else? Sorry for the yawn. Okay, Adrian, Patricia, prayers for the families out here in California who are now being impacted by flash floods. Aaron Murray, I was married on day 3 Tuesday before I knew what it was. There you go. I was good, and my wife is a double blessing. All right. Also, praise Yah, we hit 15,000 subscribers. Also on YouTube. Also, here's a big praise. I don't remember. Let me see if I can look this up. I'm going to try this on the other screen. Give me 1 second and see if I can look this up. It's just going to give me a second. See if I can look this up. Well, oh, that's not going to work, is it? 1 second. Okay, so, okay, it was the 14th. Oh, there you go. All right. I got what I wanted from that, so let me get back onto the study here. Where do I click to do that? I forgot what I was doing here. Here we go. All right, so this is almost to the day, since today's the 15th of January. January 14th was the first day in 2012 that we had our first service as Beshalach. So we're now at the beginning of our 8th year. Okay, we're just the start of 8 years now. We've completed 7 years at Beshalach. Yay! As our first service was on Saturday, January the 14th. And so in 2012. All right, so that's really exciting. 7 years in the books. Okay, now the 8th year is a year of rest, so starting almost immediately, I'm going to take a 1-year vacation sabbatical, and you guys are on your own till I'm going to leave this in Rabbi Tom's hands for the next year. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, let's see. Hey, Dave Sanderson, let's see. Hold on, I missed something. You guys are all typing all these no's. All right. Did you receive our email from our brother, Kevin Druin, that he sent on January 6th to introduce the congregation? Is there a way that we can call you at some point to connect for the first time? Okay. Emails, I have no idea if I received it. I get 600 or 700 or 800 of those a day. Hard for me to follow through them. Dave, it's more than welcome for you to call me tonight, or you guys want to talk to me tomorrow. Just give us a call. And Robert will let me know, and he'll connect you to me, and we'll get that all worked out, okay? So phone calls are the best way to do it. But yes, you are certainly welcome to call. We'd love to connect. Where is this congregation that you're wanting to introduce? Where is it located? Just let us know where that is. Okay. Also, I like David and Amy. Don't quit your day, evening, and night job, Rabbi. There you go. Let's see. Chuck in Minneapolis. Prayer for shooting and stabbing pain in back between shoulders. Okay, that's hard stuff to deal with. Oh, that's the one in Orangeville, Ontario, Canada. No problem. Rob, you're funny. He says, Rob Weigo, that is what got us to MTOI. Our fellowship in Florida completed 7 years and then took a sabbatical. We never came back together. I'm not going anywhere. It's okay. All right, relax. All right, Rabbi Tom is awesome. An entire year without you with me. A major enduring. Laugh out loud. There you go. All right. So, Dave, you guys are in Orangeville, Ontario. I look forward to that. Where is that relative to, like, Toronto area, or and what is that near? I guess I could look it up on my computer here. Let me just look it up real quick. Orangeville, Ontario. An hour northwest of Toronto. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, because I know what Toronto is. We've also got people in London that we've worked with, and we've also got people further north up in Owen Sound. And so we've been across Ontario quite a little bit. Okay. All right. What am I up to here? I looked at the other screen and I lost everything. Okay, let's see. Okay, we have offices in Brantford and Chester. Okay, in your business. Okay, good. All right. So we're all ready to get started, hopefully. So let's go ahead and get some of the guys to go ahead and raise your hands. We're going to open the study with prayer and also prayer for the praise reports and prayer requests. All right. I do not have any idea who's been praying the last couple of weeks when I wasn't here. But we'll go ahead and allow, let's see, we'll pick.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Your mic's working, but it's a little quiet.
Mic check.
Try again.
Mic check 1 2.
That's a little better, I guess. But I mean, I can make my computer pretty loud. All right, just talk loud and go for it.
Yeah, Abba, we're just thankful and grateful that we can come before you at this time, and we seek your face and permission to petition you. We thank you for all that you've done and all that you're doing. We just pause to lift up all of these prayer requests to you because there's no one else who can do what you do. And we thankful for that we can come together in this mishpachah to lift up these prayer requests and praises. Please be with all the spoken and unspoken requests, and may what we read and learn and study tonight, may we take this and apply it to our lives. And we thank you, and we're careful to give you all the praise, honor, and glory. Amen. Amen.
All right, so for all of you that couldn't hear him, you can say amen. If you trust me, I can promise you he said good stuff. Okay, but Jonathan, you have to make sure, whoever's got their mic on, make sure you turn your mic off. Because there's an echo going on. Okay. All right, so tonight. All right, we didn't get to do Bo last week. Bo was Exodus 10, 1 through 13, 16. And so I'm going to choose to skip that and go into the next one because we cover the most important parts of chapters of the whole Torah portion of Bo. The biggest thing really is the finishing of the plagues and then getting into the instructions about Passover. And so if you listen to the Passover Q&A teaching, that goes through chapter 12 very thoroughly, okay? And so hopefully that handles last week for most people. Also can you can go into the archive and see previous years when we've done Torah portion Bo. Okay, so this week today we're going to do Beshalach. Okay, Beshalach, which is Exodus 13:17 through 17:16. And you guys are already jumping in there and letting us know that Beshalach means, okay, what does it mean? And he sent, okay, 13:17, when he sent or when he let go, okay, or he let go is really sort of more accurate. Okay, good job for everyone. He let go. Okay, Alva, I can't tell her she can't hear, then it doesn't really work. So as she tried to reboot, and as she gone into the microphone settings and the speaker settings on not just on her computer, but within Adobe Connect, because that will make a difference. Okay, so we're going to start here, and the way it works is I'm going to call up readers. I need 9 hands up, readers. Okay, I need 9 readers. Okay, and I'll call on each reader one at a time. I will let you know what verses you're going to cover. I'll say a little blessing, traditional blessing before you read. And then when you're finished reading, please remember to turn off your mic and also put your hand back down. Okay, now, so we're going to begin here in Exodus chapter 13 and verse 17. And the first reader is going to have a little bit of a challenge because you're going to be reading across chapters into chapter 14. So just pay attention to that. Okay. And the first reader looks like it is Mr. Earl Lee from, no, I guess it's Earl from Louisiana, not Earl from Canada, right? Okay. So Earl, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Earl, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing. And, from Lethbridge, okay, there you go, Alberta. Blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Amen. Okay, Earl, go ahead and start us off. Now, you're going to go from chapter 13 and verse 17 to chapter 14 and verse 7.
And it came to be, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that Elohim did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines. Though that was near, for Elohim said, lest the people regret when they see fighting, and return to Mitzrayim. So Elohim led the people around the way of the wilderness of the Sea of Reeds, and the children of Israel went up in the fives from the land of Mitzrayim. And Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for he certainly made the children of Israel swear, saying, Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring my bones from here with you. And they departed from Sukkot and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And Yahweh went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. The column of cloud did not cease by day, nor the column of fire by night before the people. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, that they turn and camp before Pi Harawath, between Migdol and the sea, opposite Baal Zephon, camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh shall say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land, the wilderness has closed them in. And I shall strengthen the heart of Pharaoh, and he shall pursue them. But I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh and over all his army, and the Mitzrites shall know that I am Yahweh, and they did so. And it was reported to the sovereign of Mitzrayim that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and the servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have we done this, that we have left Israel go from serving us? So he made his chariot ready and took his people with him. And he took 600 choice chariots and all the chariots of Mitzrayim with officers all over them.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Earl. Okay, next up we have Nolan. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Nolan, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, chapter 14, continue from verse 8 through 20.
All right, mic check. All right. And Yahweh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and he pursued the children of Israel. But the children of Israel went out defiantly. And the Mitzrites pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them, camping by the sea, beside Pi Haroth, before Baal Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and saw the Mitzrites coming up after them, and they were greatly afraid. So the children of Israel cried out to Yahweh, and they said to Moshe, Did you take us away to die in the wilderness, because there are no burial sites in Mitzrayim? What is this you have done to us, to bring us up out of Mitzrayim? Is this not the word we spoke to you in Mitzrayim, saying, Leave us alone and let us serve the Mitzrites? For it would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrites than to die in the wilderness. And Moshe said to the people, Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the deliverance of Yahweh, which he does for you today. For the Mitzrites whom you see today, you are never to see again. Yahweh does fight for you and you keep silent. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel and let them go forward. And you lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, and let the children of Israel go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I am strengthening the hearts of the Mitzrites, and they shall follow them, and I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh and over all his army, his chariots and his horsemen. And the Mitzrites shall know that I am Yahweh, when I am esteemed through Pharaoh, his chariots and his horsemen. And the messenger of Elohim, who went up before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the column of cloud went from before them and stood behind them, and came between the camp of the Mitzrites and the camp of Israel. And it was the cloud and the darkness, and it gave light by night, and the one did not come near the other all night.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Nolan. Okay, next up we have Bob. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Bob, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, go ahead now and take us from verse 21 to the end of the chapter.
Test. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. And the Mitzrites pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all the horses of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to be in the morning watch that Yahweh looked down upon the army of the Mitzrites through the column of fire and cloud, and he brought the army of the Mitzrites into confusion. And he took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Mitzrites said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahweh fights for them against the Mitzrites. And then Yahweh said to Moshe, Stretch out your hand over the sea, and let the waters come back upon the Mitzrites, on their chariots and on their horsemen. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its usual flow, at the break of day, with the Mitzrites fleeing into it. Thus Yahweh overthrew the Mitzrites in the midst of the sea. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. Not even one was left of them. And the children of Israel walked on the dry ground in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. Thus Yahweh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrites. And Israel saw the Mitzrites dead on the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which Yahweh had done in Mitzrayim. And the people feared Yahweh and believed Yahweh and his servant Moshe.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Bob. Okay, next up we have Steve. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Steve, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Steve, go ahead and take us into chapter 15 and read verses 1 through 14.
All right, good. All right, then Moshe and the children of Israel sang the song to Yahweh and spoke, saying, I sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. and he is my El, and I praise him. Elohim is my Father, and I exalt him. Yahweh is a man of battles. Yahweh is the name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariot and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned by the sea of reeds. The depth covers them. They went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahweh, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahweh, has crushed the enemy, and in greatness, your excellence, you have pulled down those who rose up against you. You set forth your wrath, it consumed them like stubble, and with the wind of your nostrils the waters were heaped up, and the flood stood like a wall. The depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, and my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You did bow your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahweh, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great and set apartness, awesome in praise, worshiping wonders? You stretched out your hand, the earth swallowed them. In your loving commitment you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength you have guided.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Steve. All right, next up we have Sue. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Sue's Kamatana Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. All right, Sue, go ahead and take us now from verse 15 to verse 27, which is the end of the chapter.
Okay, mic check. There it is. Okay. Didn't have my mic on. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled. The mighty men of Moab, trembling gripped them. All the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone until your people pass over, O Yahweh, until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahweh, which you have made for your own dwelling, the set-apart place, O Yahweh, which your hands have prepared. Yahweh reigns forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh went with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea, and Yahweh brought back the waters of the sea upon them. And the children of Israel went on dry ground in the midst of the sea. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. And Moshe brought Israel from the sea of reeds, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And they came to Marah, and they were unable to drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. So the name of it was called Marah. And the people grumbled against Moshe, saying, What are we to drink? Then he cried out to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a tree. And when he threw it into the waters were made sweet. There he made a law and a right ruling for them, and there he tried them. And he said, If you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard all his laws, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mizrahites, for I am Yahweh who heals you. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the waters.
Amen. Amen. All right. Thank you, Sue. Okay. Next up is Jonathan. Now, Jonathan, we really couldn't hear you very good during the prayer. Do you think you've got your sound strengthened up there? Because you're going to have to be quite a bit louder than you were during the prayer part. Go ahead and do a sound check. Let's see before we go ahead and do this. Okay, you're going to go ahead and do a sound check?
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, that's not going to work. You got to be a lot louder than that.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Oh, that's much better. There you go. Okay, let me go ahead and
We took him before, well, they said he was fine, and then when we took him back, they tested him again, said he had the flu, so they gave him his medicine. So one day after taking all his meds, he's back to normal.
let me do the. I muted my mic. Okay, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Jonathan, who's come up down to Yahweh in the Torah, and he set apart one, bless him and his family, and blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hand. Amen. Jonathan, we hear something in the background. What is that we're hearing?
I'm on the phone. I'm streaming through the phone, so I don't know if that's a problem.
Well, it's who you're sitting around that we can hear them.
Let me remove myself. Ooh. Rabbi, for the sake of time, can you select someone else? I'm having technical difficulties with this. The laptop that I'm reading the scriptures from and trying it with the reception, with the internet. I mean, the hospital reception is kind of interfering or something, and I don't want to take up.
Okay, we'll skip you. No problem. Okay, no problem. Appreciate you.
My apologies.
Explaining that, and we'll just go ahead and skip. No problem. Okay, just turn your mic off, and we'll go to the next person. All right, go up to Rick. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Rick, who's come down to Yahweh in the Torah. Let us set apart one, bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, Rick's going to take us now to chapter 16 and read verses 1 through 10.
Mic check. Okay. And they set out from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second new moon after their going out of the land of Mitzrayim. And all the congregation of the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon in the wilderness. The children of Israel said to them, "If only we had died by the hand of Yah in the land of Mitzrayim, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to satisfaction. For you have brought us out into the wilderness to put all this assembly to death with hunger." And Yahweh said to Moshe, "See, I am raising bread from the heavens for you, and the people shall go out and gather a day's portion every day, in order to try them, whether they walk in my Torah or not. And it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily." And Moshe and Aharon said to all the children of Israel, "At evening you shall know that Yahweh has brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. And in the morning you shall see the esteem of Yah, for he hears your grumblings against him, against Yahweh. And what are we that you grumble against us?" And Moshe said, "In that Yahweh gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to satisfaction. For Yahweh hears your grumblings which you make against him. And what are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but against Yah." And Moshe said to Aharon, "Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before Yahweh, for he has heard your grumblings. And it came to be, as Aharon spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and see, the esteem of Yahweh appeared in the cloud.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Rick. Okay, next up we have Olivier. Okay, he who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Olivier, who's going to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, go ahead and take us from verse 11 to verse 24.
Mic check. Perfect. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, I have heard the grumblings of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, between the evenings you are to eat meat, and in the morning you are to be satisfied with bread. You shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. But it came to be that quails came up at evening and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And the layer of dew went up, and see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. The children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, what is this? Know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. But it came to be that quails came up at evening and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And the layer of dew went up, and see, on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. The children of Israel saw, and they said to each other, what is this? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, it is the bread which Yahweh has given to you to eat. This is the word which Yahweh has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need, an omer for each being according to the numbers of beings. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more, some less. And they measured it by omers. And he who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Each one gathered according to his need. And Moshe said, let no one leave any of it until morning. And they did not listen to Moshe. So some of them left part of it until morning, and it bread warmed and stank. And Moshe was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, each one according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. And it came to be on the 6th day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. And he said to them, this is what Yahweh has said. Tomorrow is rest, Sabbath set apart to Yahweh. That which you bake, bake, and that which you cook, cook. And lay up for yourselves all that is left over, to keep it until morning. And they laid it up till morning, as Moshe commanded. And it did not stink, and no worm was in it.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Thank you very much, Olivier. Next up is Adrian. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Adrian, who's quotes out of Yahweh Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, we're going to continue here in chapter 16 with verses 25 to the end of the chapter.
Mic check. Rabbi, I defer my spot to Rav Tom if he would like to read, or if I were to bow out and set him up to be the last reader, I'm willing to do that for him.
Okay, because this is the second to last reading. So if you bow out, Kendall can go, and then Rabbi Tom, that would be fine.
Okay.
Unless Kendall wants to drop out, that'll be fine. No, Rabbi Tom says no. He says don't bow out for him. We put a bunch of twos. So let's just stick with you. Go ahead and do your readings, and then we'll finish it up with Kendall.
Okay. And Moshe said, "Eat it today, for today is a Sabbath to Yahweh. Today you do not find it in the field. Gather it 6 days, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, there is none." And it came to be that some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather, but they found none. And Yah said to Moshe, "How long shall you refuse to guard my commands and my Torah? See, because Yahweh has given you the Sabbath, therefore he is giving you bread for 2 days, and on the sixth day. Let each one stay in his place. Do not let anyone go out of his place on the seventh day." So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was white like coriander seed, and the taste of it was like thin cakes made with honey. Moshe said, "This is the word which Yah has commanded. Fill an omer with it to keep it for your generations, so they see the bread which I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim." And Moshe said to Aharon, "Take a pot and put an omer of manna in it, and set it down before Yah to keep for your generations." And as Yah commanded Moshe, so did Aharon set it down before the witness to keep. And the children of Israel ate manna for 40 years, until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. An omer is 1/10 of an ephah.
All right, sorry about that. My mic didn't just kick on for whatever reason. I had a slight delay. Thank you, Adrian. Excellent job. Okay, last reader is Kendall. "He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Kendall, who's come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. It is set apart one, bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen." Okay, Exodus 17, verses 1 through 16. Last reading.
Mic check. And all the congregation of the children of Israel set out on their journey from the wilderness of Sin, according to the mouth of Yahweh, and camped in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. Therefore the people strove with Moshe, and said, "Give us water to drink." And Moshe said to them, "Why do you strive with me? Why do you try Yahweh?" And the people thirsted there for water. And the people grumbled against Moshe, and said, "Why did you bring us out of Mitzrayim to kill us and our children and our livestock with thirst?" Then Moshe cried out to Yahweh, saying, "What am I to do with this people? Yet a little, and they shall stone me." And Yahweh said to Moshe, "Pass over before the people, and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the rod which you struck the river, and go. See, I am standing before you there on the rock of Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people shall drink." And Moshe did so before the eyes of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the strife of the children of Israel, and because they tried Yahweh, saying, "Is Yahweh in our midst or not?" And Amalek came and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moshe said to Yehoshua, "Choose for us men to go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I am stationing myself on top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in my hand." And Yehoshua did as Moshe said to him, to fight with Amalek. And Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. And it came to be, when Moshe held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moshe's hands were heavy, so they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side, the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until going down of the sun. And Yehoshua defeated
Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Yahweh said to Moshe, write this for a remembrance in the book and recite it in the hearing of Yehoshua, that I shall completely blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. And Moshe built a slaughter place and called its name Yahweh Nisi. For he said, because a hand is on the throne of Yah, Yahweh is to fight against Amalek from generation to generation.
Amen. Amen. Okay, thank you, Kendall. All right, that's going to complete the readings for the night. Great job, everyone. Appreciate everyone who participated in the readings. We have a traditional blessing after the readings. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh our Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us a Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. 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 Okay, so a couple of quick announcements here before we get into the discussion. Okay, so first point again, for those of you that were not here earlier, last week we were not able to have study because of some technical difficulties with Adobe Connect, and obviously they've worked better today, which is good. Okay, so that's worked out much better. But we did have a real challenge with the Adobe Connect last week, and so there is no archive of last week's, although there are archives of previous year's renditions of Parsha Bo. You can look at those. But in the meantime, so more announcements. We are this Sunday on the 20th. We are doing our general session, which is open to all of you. It's using Adobe Connect. Excuse me for the yawn. Using Adobe Connect. Different link than the one you use for Bible study. If you go to the MTOI website, you'll see the link for the general session. It's on Sunday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern Time in the PM. 8 o'clock PM Eastern Time. Okay? And that will be this Sunday, the 20th. For those of you in the leadership, we will be having our leaders meetings at the usual times, 10 a.m. Eastern for the South Africans and noon for everyone else. Okay, for those of you in the leadership, we'll be doing that on this Sunday as well. Okay, I think that covers it for that. I am working on, as best I can, it's so hard, I'm working on getting the registration form ready for Passover. Robert, can you put the dates down? April 19th through 28th. Friday, April 19th through Sunday, the 28th. Passover will be on Friday night, April 19th. Excuse me. Okay? I hope to have the website up soon with the registration form, but minor things like my transmission blowing up and things like that have slowed me down a little bit. And so that happened on Friday, and I've been dealing with that since then. So, but hopefully I'll get it done this week. By the way, as far as praise and prayer, please keep my daughter Brianna in prayer as she's going to be beginning the journey of leading the praise team. And so this is going to be her first week, officially in that capacity. And so just keep her in prayer that she matures and is up to the challenge. I'm very confident that she can do it. And so we're excited for that. Okay. All of you on the praise team, we are going to be meeting tomorrow night, as usual. And I think we should be putting a little Marco Polo together for you, if not already, on the praise Marco Polo from Brianna with the song list for tomorrow. So I'm going to try to get that done. Okay. I think that covers it pretty much for, I'm just looking quickly if there's anything else coming up on the calendar. I think we're good. All right. So that being said, as we go into the discussion portion, all right, and which we do every week, I want to kind of put a right framework, okay, around our discussion. Number one, we're going to try to look for what we can find within the Torah portion that we can relate to in terms of ourselves. Where can we see ourselves in this in some way? Okay, that's what we're first and foremost looking for. What can we do in terms of seeing ourselves in the Torah portion and be able to apply it in our walk today? Next, we're going to also be looking at this from a chronological, and of course these are not points that are in order here. We are going to try to look at this in a chronological order. So let's try to start in chapter 13. I do apologize for the yawning. I have no idea why I'm yawning, but okay. Well, we'll start in chapter 13 and move our way forward. All right. Can the upcoming dates be added to the online MTOI calendar so it syncs with our mobile calendars? Yes, I can do that. I am so sorry that I haven't done that yet. I'll try to do that this week. Tonight, if I can, I'll try to go ahead and add the feast dates onto the MTOI calendar that's on the website. There is Robert, put the link to the Holy Feast Days page, so we do have that. So you can go on our website to see all of the dates on the Holy Feast Days page on our website, but I will try to add them to the calendar because I know you want it to sync with your mobile calendar. Okay. So we're going to try to start around, chapter 13 and verse 17 and work our way forward here through to the middle of chapter 17. Okay. And actually to the end of chapter 17. All right. That all being said, we have Steve Waffle with his hand up. Steve, go ahead.
Whoops. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, for 13:7, just let me reiterate it. Says, Yahweh did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, though it was near, because of the fighting. They would have been regretful and wish they hadn't left Mitzrayim. So in that, I believe it tells me that sometimes the way the Father takes us is for our own good, even though we don't seem to understand the way He's leading us. So that's what I got out of the very beginning of that. So thank you.
All right, good point, Steve. Every week when we pray at Shabbat, one of the things I say during prayer time is that, Father, we know that your answer is not always going to be the one that we're thinking is the right answer, but your answer is always the right answer. And so rather than go the way that was maybe more direct, that looked more obviously the correct way to go, he had a reason to lead them a different way. Of course, they especially didn't get it when they showed up at the sea and it looked like there was no place to go. See, the straightest distance between 2 points is whatever Yahweh's distance is, because it'll make sure you accomplish everything that you're supposed to accomplish on the way. Trying to go what you think is the shortest distance, straight line, isn't always the shortest distance. Okay? There's other things that you'll miss along the way that you have to go back and relearn. And so that's a really good point. Appreciate that. Let's see. Just looking. Okay, so David and Amy, 14:8-10 defines the great fear in the heartbeat. Pride goes before a fall. That's right. Verse 8 to verse 10. So verse 8, they're panicking. They went out defiantly and they're all cocky and they're all full of themselves. And by verse 10, they are freaking out. They're having a full-blown meltdown of fear. It goes to show you how you can go from defiance to great fear. What does that also show you? Yahweh is going to get your attention. He's going to wake you up. He's going to show you what you need to see. Deuteronomy 8:2, we talk about it a lot, about the proving to see what's in your heart, but we forget sometimes to focus on the first part, which is to humble you. See, Israel, somehow, look, we have to realize that just because you maybe don't have a lot, and just because you may be struggling in some areas, doesn't mean you still might not have some sort of a pride problem. Okay, because Israel clearly still had a pride problem in the midst of all of this somehow. Okay? And so it's important that we realize that as we go through this, that you can still have a pride problem coming out of slavery. Of all things, they're coming out of slavery and they still had a pride problem, as incredible as that was to think that they could possibly have. Okay? So all of us have been slaves to sin. Hopefully we can all agree we've been slaves to sin. And as we're coming out of slavery, we don't need to end up with a need to be humbled. And some of us are having that problem because we go on Facebook or we go to our friends and our family and we start blasting everybody because we're now so defiant and smart and smug and all that kind of other thing. And that's why I've reminded you over and over again, please don't do that. Okay? Please don't do that. All right. Okay, Crystal is leaving. She's not feeling well. She needs to be there to help her husband tomorrow. Excellent. No problem. We'll keep you in prayer. Have a good night. Okay, Crystal McGee, I think chapter 14:12 reminds us to stay steadfast so we don't feel as they did. They wanted to return to slavery because the path out wasn't easy. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Crystal, but I'm going to kind of take it a little bit further than that. It's not that they wanted to return because it wasn't easy. They wanted to return because they couldn't see where this was going. They couldn't see how it could work out. They couldn't see. When you're in slavery, you know exactly what tomorrow is going to look like. You know exactly how it's going to look. It's going to look exactly like today. They couldn't see the salvation, the deliverance, the redemption, the future, the land, the kingdom. So think of it this way, okay? They're there and they're wanting to quit because they can't imagine how this could work, and so they're panicking. It's mostly a fear of the unknown. They can't see it. And remember what we read in Hebrews, that faith is the evidence of what you can't see. You trust and believe it anyway. So it's not just that it wasn't easy, but they also had a problem seeing it. They didn't see the plan. They didn't see Yahweh. They didn't see him for what he is and for what he was and where he's going and what he's doing and what he will be. They couldn't. They lacked vision, as David and Amy wrote. The lack of vision. Okay, and so this is the problem. Now, also, this is something that every week we find an excuse to get me to go in this direction. So I apologize, or maybe I don't. Maybe we need to hear it. For lack of vision, the people what? It's Proverbs 29:18. Actually, the Hebrew is better translated as let loose, which of course leads to perishing. Where there is no vision, for lack of vision, where there is no vision, the people are let loose, unrestrained. And so they perish. Now, who is given the vision? Is the vision given to everybody all at once? Nope. The leadership. Now, Yahweh was going to give it to everyone all at once, but the people did what? They said, we'd rather he didn't do that. We would rather he just went ahead and talked through Moses. Okay? So that's a whole sort of different deal. Okay? So if you are wanting to get in line with all of this, you're going to have to learn to find that human being like a Moses. I'm not claiming that there are human beings today alive who are equal to Moses, but the one who's given the vision. You know, Paul tells us in Ephesians 4 with the fivefold ministry that there are guys and men around who are anointed, appointed leadership who are given the vision. Okay, so it's important that we find that person with the vision, because Moses told them to do what? He said, stand still, do not be afraid. He says in verse 13, do not be afraid, stand still and see the deliverance of Yahweh. All right? Chris apparently is all excited about the leaks, though. Ah, the leaks. Okay. So let's all understand, he's still in no relationship, right? But you have to have the relationship with your Creator and a relationship with proper leadership. You have to go find yourself some proper leadership so that you can be in relationship with that leadership and trust that Yahweh is speaking through and sharing. This is the important thing. You want to find leadership that has been given an ability to see Yahweh's vision. Where by vision, I'm not talking about speaking like a soothsayer, looking into a crystal ball. I mean, who's been given the ability to see what Yahweh's doing and where he's going. Right, foresight and insight. Let's combine the two. Person's giving some foresight and insight as to what it is Yahweh is doing, how he's doing it, where he's doing it, and the methodology of all of that, and to be able to share that with the people. All right? So Olivia and Janet say, so in our family, the vision is given to the husband. Yes, it is. Here's part of the problem, is we have a lot of husbands out there, and I'm not picking on Olivier, but in general, we have a lot of husbands that while they may be given the vision, they don't seem to have the skill sets necessary to share that vision with their family and lead them in that direction. And all, that's right, visionarily impaired. Okay? Now, also, it could be that Yahweh is not giving them the vision until they stand up and become capable of implementing the vision. And so, men, we need to get ourselves prepared to receive insight and foresight. I like that. Write that down. Who wrote foresight on there? That was good. Just look, I can't see back to where it was. All right, but that's good stuff right there, okay? Oh, it was AJ Bogle. Okay, so I was looking too far up the screen. All right, foresight, I'm going to write this, vision, foresight, and plus insight. Okay, somehow that can be something maybe David Reese can post and make a little thing that we can put on Facebook or something. Okay. All right, so this is important. So what about the vision to the wife as she instructs and teaches the children? The wife should be implementing a vision that comes from her husband, and then she is then implementing it with the children. Of course, if the husband doesn't have a vision for it, then the wife is kind of forced to do it. But the vision should be coming vertically down a chain. So women, you should be checking with your husband saying, this is what I see and this is what I think we should be doing. Is that something that you see and what you think we should be doing? We will have classes on this, I promise. Okay, because we're going to need to totally reset the way we see things as men and as women. We have huge disconnects in those areas, and we're going to need to reset them. All right. Sean Earls, or they share the vision before the wife jumps ship. Okay, Ian Taylor, there appears to be a pattern of him giving us what we want, and later on us realizing that maybe it wasn't such a good idea. Okay? The quail, King Saul, whatever other sin we might have in our heart. Okay? Sometimes Yahweh's best way of getting our attention is to say, okay, how about if I just give you what you want and then see how that works? So be careful what you ask for. He may give it to you. And then Ian goes, well, hopefully we'll realize it. Don't get laid low in the desert. I'm made to that. Okay? Chapter 16, only 15 days into their travels, they lost the vision and promises and felt they should have stayed behind rather than make any change. For me, or us today, it is the change is what we fear and keeps us from even moving from where we are to where we should, we know we should. Okay? Okay, David says, forced is not usurping. I'm not sure what forced means in that context, David. Nobody should be doing any forcing. Okay, husbands on the wives certainly not on the husbands. There needs to be echad. Two cannot walk together unless they agree on how they're going to walk. And so we need to have an agreement in how that's going to be working. All right? And so if there's no agreement, then we have a problem in that area. But if we're going to have this work out, then there has to be a coming together in an agreement that the wife, and that's really what the wedding should be about. The wife is the husband's agreeing to take the leadership role and all that burden of responsibility, and the wife's agreeing to be his helper in that, to submit and support him in that role. Of course, if he doesn't know what he's doing, and if she's not willing to actually do that, the whole thing becomes, as in most cases, a disastrous mess. So I'm going to blame both. Okay? Okay, so Alva says, so she should be getting it while her husband is not. No, she's not getting the vision. She will jump in and try to figure out what to do with the children on her own. It may or may not be the way Yahweh wants it to be. Ultimately, Yahweh wants the men to do what the men are supposed to do. Problem is, I would say the majority of men out there are completely clueless as to what they're supposed to do, or unwilling to step up and do it, whichever way you'd want to look at it, okay? And I don't mean for you all the men to get mad at me. You just have to own this. And if you would only own it, you could fix it. All right? We talked about that a little bit on Shabbat. Okay, Chris and Tiffany, I came to Torah. My husband came to it 4 years later, which is no problem at all, very common. However, once he came to it, you need to be allowing him to lead. And Chris, you need to play enough catch up. And by the way, some of you ladies can tell, I know the testimonies of how you came into this first, and then your husband, just put on the running shoes and ran, blasted forward, and is now leading just fine. Okay? But just because you came to it first doesn't put you in the leadership role. You're going to have to eventually give that over to him, because it will not work long term if you're holding on to the reins. And so most of you should already know that. Okay? Okay, let's see. Let's scrolling down here. Any relationship between or significance regarding the physical location of Sukkot coming out of Mitzrayim in 1320 and later to be commanded Feast of Sukkot? It's just the word booths, so it came from a place called Booths. And a lot of towns and places will have a place called Booth City. They had one of those in Israel, near Jerusalem, a booth city or tent city. Randy Baker, what if there's no husband that is in covenant or single mom? Can they receive the vision? Best that you just find leadership to come under and allow, from a spiritual point of view, to find a leader that can help guide you. I'm not saying that you can't get a piece of that vision. I would just be really careful to have somebody to run it by. Same thing for you men. Just because I said you guys get the vision doesn't mean you shouldn't be running it by somebody to be covered to make sure you're not all out of whack. So just because you're the man doesn't mean you might not put your own vision in and think it's his, or the other voices in your head may try to present a vision and make you think it's his. Be careful. All right? Needs met, blessing. Wants met, not so much. Wife, mother, teaching children if husband not leading. And so we pray, Echad is Father and Son are Echad. Okay, good. Okay, so chapter 15, verse 26, the covenant before Mount Sinai covenant, or the same one. Chapter 15, 26. Okay, he said, if you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard his laws, I shall bring you on you none of these diseases I brought on the Mitzrites, for I am Yahweh. Yeah, I mean, Moshe is explaining to them, this is the covenant. It becomes formal between them and Yahweh when Yahweh takes them at Sinai. So he's getting them ready for it. All right? He's getting them to think about and understand what it is they're signing up with. All right. So Rachel said he's so blessed to have a marriage where they're equally yoked. Okay, I want you to understand this equally yoked thing. May not be what you were taught in Christianity. Yoking, in the verse it's mentioned and it says, do not be unequally yoked with what? An unbeliever. I taught this in a teaching, I know I have. Maybe our kind of archivists here, like, Gary, David, or Steve Waffle, somebody can remember which teaching I said it in. But the unequally yoked has to do with being under a discipling process, because that's the yoking. All right? Okay, that's the yoking. And so I'm glad Adrian and Patricia are equally yoked. So I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying I want to make sure people understand what it means to be equally yoked. So you're equally yoked under the same guidance, same instruction, on the same page. But also, there's still the two of you can't walk together unless you agree on how that's going to look, with Adrian leading and Patricia following in the path of that leading. Okay? And trusting in that leadership. Okay, so let's kind of keep that in mind. All right. Adrian says, and Patricia makes my role much, much easier. That is a big blessing. Okay, David and Amy. Is 14, 21, 25, and 15:8 the same? When did Yah breathe life into beings? Let me see, 14, 21. No. He's using this wind to part the sea. All right? Not the breath of life. It is literally wind. Okay? John, Robin, and Tia, chapter 16:34. Aaron sat down from before the witness to keep. Can you explain the witness? 16:34. 16:34. As Yahweh commanded Moshe, so did Aaron set it down before the witness to keep. Okay. So remember, he's putting it down before the witness. What is the witness? It's the Ten Commandments tablets. Okay, in this case, that's what it's referring to. The other word, witness, is referring to the Ten Commandments tablets. All right? I'm sorry, this is before the Ten Commandments tablets are given. 16:19, and he took the pot and the manna and put it, what is he putting it before at that point? A good question. My brain just shifted after I gave you a wrong answer. So hold on a second here. Yeah, this word Yahweh said, fill us up and keep it in generations. Take a pot and keep it for your generation. Yahweh commanded Moses, so Aaron set it down before the witness to keep, and it's always ate the manna. Now, the pillar of cloud and fire were a manifestation. I'm not sure. It's a good thing. It could be something, it could, like I said, is this an example of some non-chronological portion of the Torah? It could be. Because ultimately, that's where it was put. That's why I said what I said. All right? I said what I said because ultimately it gets put together in the ark. All right? So that could be a non-chronological sort of thing that's in there just to get a little out of line there. Okay? I wouldn't say that it's talking about Yah is the witness, because it had to do with where they put it to keep, to make sure they didn't lose it, to travel with it, and so ultimately it ends up in the ark. Okay? All right, let me scroll back up further. Okay, Exodus 16:27 to 29. Okay, so it talks about when they to stay in their house. Okay? The stay in the home command was just for them to learn Sabbath keeping at that time because they were already not listening. Okay? They were already not listening. Remember, we have the problem, in terms of them being told and they didn't listen. They gathered anyway, and then it rotted and it stank. Okay? And so this is not a instruction to tell. Some people think that. Some people get into Sabbath keeping and think, well, we're not supposed to leave our houses. Well, that's not exactly true. Okay? Because you get to other places like in Leviticus 23, where you're told that Shabbat is to be kept as an appointed time, a commanded assembly, and that you're not to forsake the gathering together and all of these things. Okay? And so, that being said, that was for then, not for everybody, and not for today. Okay. Rabbi, what would have been an alternative honoring response for our forefathers towards Yah instead of grumbling when they were being tested? Praising Him, being thankful, respecting Him, trusting Him. Yes, and yes to all of those things. Okay? All of heaven and earth as witness. Yes, but this is the whole point of putting it someplace for safekeeping is what was going on here in verse 34. And ultimately that became the, as Nolan points, as David Amos said to Nolan, until the ark was present, because that's where we'd end up eventually. Okay? All right. Now, in chapter 15 and verse 11, you have the Mi Chamocha, which we say every week. And some of you may wonder where the Mi Chamocha comes from. Well, there it is. Who is like you, O Yahweh, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in set apartness, awesome in praises, working wonders? So that's the Mi Chamocha. Okay, so we have that right there in 15:11. Okay, we've got that going on. Let's go back to let's see. Let's go to 13:18. Rabbi Tom, you will appreciate this verse very much. Okay? Because Rabbi Tom, the children came out of bondage and they were armed. So for all those who think that we're just got to trust in Yahweh and not be armed and not be ready to defend ourselves, it says, Elohim led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Sea of Reeds, and the children of Israel went up armed from the land of Mitzrayim. Okay? They were armed. All right. In chapter, let's see. Okay, hold on. What verse was that? That was chapter 13 and verse 18. Okay, just something hit me. I'm going to throw it out there, and you can tell me what you guys think of it or not. But something just kind of hit me, and I'm just kind of wondering what your thoughts on this are. So give me a second to try to lay this out, okay? All right. So in verse 21, it says, and Yahweh went before them, and by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. Okay. Now, that being said, he gave them a cloud by day. So, how good do you normally see on a cloudy day as opposed to a bright sunny day? So during the day, when you should be seeing things, you might be looking through that cloudy sort of, but you still kind of can see. And he gave them something to see and something to follow. They're following the cloud during when it's day, when things are supposed to be good. And he gave them a cloud, so they had to work harder to see the pillar of cloud. Which is harder to see, a cloud during the day or fire at night? Okay, it's harder to see the cloud, so you have to look for it, you got to pay attention to it. You know, it can blend into the sky, it can blend into the horizon. So he gave them that during the day when they were awake, they would have to make more effort to see him, to follow him, to focus on him. Now, what does nighttime usually indicate? What do we normally think of as night? Challenges, not just sleep. We think of challenges at night, darkness, being in darkness instead of in light. And so he provides light in the darkness, light so we can see when we're in darkness. So I think what he's trying to say here, and I don't know, this is just, I've never said this before, that when we're walking in the light of day, and we should be able to see fairly well, we're going to have to make much more effort to see him. But if we look for him when things are bad and we're in trials, we should be easier to see him. Because we're in the darkness at that moment. And he should be this bright light, this fire that we can see. Does that work for anybody? Well, does that work for anybody? Okay. I mean, I'm just wondering, it just hit me as I was looking at I wrote in my notes to mention the cloud and the fire. Okay, so during the day when it's light, we can get easily thinking we're safe, we got this covered, everything's great, and we can forget to look at him. Okay? You can forget to focus on him, to look at him, to have that going on. However, then, at night, when it's dark, at night, when we're struggling with things, or we're running into problems, if we would only look, we should see him like a fire in the midst of that. Okay, I'm just saying, you may want to think of it from that point of view. Just really hit me, and I just wanted to share that. Okay. Okay, 14:11. Are you guys okay with me kind of shotgunning in here, just filling in some gaps? Okay, 14:11. All right, so 14:11. It says, and they said to Moshe, did you take us away to die in the wilderness, blah, 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 blah. What is going on here? You know what? If you start walking down a path, the path of Torah, so not a path, the path. You're walking down the path of Torah. You made a choice in your life. You made a decision, a commitment to covenant to walk down this path. And guess what? You're going to run into moments where it doesn't go well. Can we all agree that's going to happen? All right. Now, what is the likelihood when that happens that you're going to look to the human leader and blame him? See? Because, I get blamed. Things don't go right in people's lives. They want to blame me for everything. And I'm not the first. Moses was getting blamed right here. Oh, Moses, did you do this to us? It's all your fault. Why did you do this? They're not remembering that he's anointed, appointed, and he's just following Yah's instruction. Oh, no. That's not what's going on here. Instead, what's going on here is they want to blame, okay? They want to blame the leadership, the human leadership. Because they're not going to blame the Father. They're not going to blame Yahweh. They're not going to blame Yeshua. All right, but they want to blame that human leadership. No problem. Let's go blame him. It's his fault. He's the one screwing up our lives. Let me see what else I got here. All right, so we get to verse 31, okay? And it says, and Israel saw the great, this is still 14, chapter 14. Israel saw the great work which Yahweh had done in Mitzrayim, and the people feared Yahweh and believed Yahweh and his servant Moshe. It took an awful lot. It took the drowning of the chariots for them to have at least a 5 seconds of lucid thinking, for them to see things clearly, and in their clear sight, they could say that they saw it, they got it. Now, notice that what it says here, okay? It says they saw, and they feared, and they believed, but did they say that they knew? That's the word that's missing here, isn't it? It doesn't say that they knew that Yahweh was who he is and that Moses was the right leader. It said that they, out of fear, they believed. And I don't know that this is an unreverent fear at this point. This might be actually trembling in the boots type of fear. Because after all, they just watched the waters part, and then they walked through it dry, and then they collapsed. The waters were collapsed right on top of all the Egyptians, and they all got killed. That was part of the problem. All right. Okay, when anyone, let's see, I'm just reading. We should learn this lesson, can't blame the blameless. Rabbi, I think many of us here trust you and walk is much easier. And again, you shouldn't be trusting me, you should be trusting what Yahweh is doing through a leader like me. Don't get caught up in the human being. All right? You should be getting caught up in what you see as the Father doing. As long as that person, you can see the problem with they have to see Moses as an instrument of what the Father was doing, not as some other thing. Okay? If they're just seeing a man, then we have a problem. Okay, Mark, but grumbling against our human leader is tantamount to grumbling against Yahweh, right? Right. That is absolutely correct. When anyone blames leadership, they haven't internalized their relationship with Yahweh. That's correct. Okay? All right. Let's see. Rabbi Tom, we keep our eyes on Yahweh. Olivier, so we need to have a relationship with Yah. He is the one we need to trust. And then you have to decide if he has put a human being in your path that you're supposed to come under. As in somebody who fits into the fivefold ministry description. And if you see that, then you need to get in line with that. Okay? And that's where we end up with the challenge. Grumbling practice commences at Shemot o'clock. Oh, this is nothing. Wait till they get to numbers. Numbers should be renamed whine, complain, complain. This is only the beginning of the whining and the complaining. All right, let's see. Just kind of looking at my notes here. Seeing what other verses I can jump into here. 16. All right, so with the manna, okay, remember we were talking about vision earlier? And when we talked about vision, we talked about who would have the vision. Understand, for example, in Psalm 105, when it talks about thy word, Psalm 119, verse 105, okay? I believe it's verse 105, right? Psalm 119, 105. Let me just double check that real quick. Yeah, okay? Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Anybody ever go outside with a lamp? I'm not talking about like an industrial strength, high-powered, high-beam flashlight. I'm talking about a lamp. Does a lamp light up the path like hundreds and hundreds of feet and yards in front of you? No. It just lights up the little bit in front of you. Okay? Psalm 119, 105. Your word is a lamp, a light to my path. And the same thing with the manna. The manna was another reminder, I'm only going to give you every day what you need for that day. Why do you need to think in terms of somehow I'm going to give you today what you're going to need forever? That's kind of more like the Christianese idea of, Yeshua did it all for us, so therefore we don't have to do anything. No, I'm going to give you what's sufficient for now because you need to do something every day to keep walking down that path. Every day with faith, you have to get up and see that manna. Trust it will be there so that you can gather what you need to eat. Every day you have to trust not to hold any over. Every day you have to trust that the lamp is going to light the path. Okay? Give us our daily bread. Thank you, David and Amy. Very good. All right? And so this is the whole point. Okay, Janice said, you can't see very far, but someone at a distance is able to see that light. Yes. But when they see that light, Janice, can they see all of the obstacles between the light and where they're standing? Okay? The answer is no, of course not. They can kind of know where they're going directionally, but they can't, it's not going to show them the tree limbs that are down or the potholes that they might trip over or any other obstacle that may be between them and the light. There may be water they have to cross between them and the light. Because you can see light a far distance. But how much light is the light giving off for you to see your path? That's what we're talking about here, is how much of the path can you see? All right, so this is why Yahweh doesn't give us the whole picture one time. He gives us what we need by day, piece of the puzzle, he says, so we trust him. That's good, Candace. Excellent. Olivia and Janet, Rabbi, chapter 15:26, promise of not bringing any diseases he brought to Mitzrayim, to the Israelites, was only for those exiting Mitzrayim and doing the commandments correct. We asked our healer, can you elaborate, please? Okay, he made a promise that if they continued in covenant with him, if they were going to keep going forward, trusting in him, that they would not have any of the diseases of Mitzrayim. This is, by the way, reiterated in Deuteronomy 28. And it also says, and if you don't follow along the path, you're going to be receiving all of those diseases, curses, and everything else, and worse. All right? So what God does today is limited to the idea of enough to keep you believing and trusting that he is there. Okay? Simply enough so that you know that he's there and that he cares. It's not a promise that he will prevent all diseases or heal everything just in the diaspora. Okay? Let's keep that in mind. Do not misunderstand that. Okay? Because that's where we can end up in real kinds of confusion. All right. Because a lot of people in those healing, name it, claim it, healing ministry, blah, 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 they're going to say, oh, no, he promised we can stand on it. Well, that's not exactly what happened. All right. Read this on Shabbat. My heart is stricken and withered like grass, for I had forgotten to eat my bread. There you go. We need his daily bread. Okay. Would they have been eating meats that aren't food? Not if they were trying to follow his instruction, no. But remember, he's giving them instruction bit by bit as they're going along.
Rabbi, most of us here in the room would agree that, at some time or another we thought to ourselves, if Yahweh would just give us a sign or a miracle, how much more strengthened our faith would be. We would have no further doubt. But when we think about the signs and the miracles that he did for the children there in the desert, I mean, how much more grand could it be for them to see the Sea of Reeds parting, or these pillars, or manna coming down from the sky? I think the takeaway for me, the lesson is, it doesn't take, regardless of what he shows us, it doesn't take us long to forget what he's done. And then we start to fear and we start to doubt. So that's kind of my takeaway on it. Yeah, and complain. Thank you.
Okay, I would agree. All right. And, it doesn't take much. And we are... What did Yeshua say? An evil generation asks for a sign. Now, why would he say that? He says that, I believe, because he's given so many signs. Why do you need to ask for one? Open your eyes. They're all around you all the time. All right, so an evil generation asks for a sign. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, let's see. Candace says we are, let me go back up. Okay. Ian, in AA, there's a saying that a miracle is a change in my perspective. When he opens our eyes, we see that he's been there all along. David and Amy, I've read this many times, but just tonight realized Moses and the children of Israel sang this song. I took that to mean all of them. How awesome is that? When would they have learned that? And Moses sang this song to Yahweh and spoke, saying, I sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted, the horse and his rider. So, you know what, that's not a real long song, and if somebody's singing it, it wouldn't take long for everybody to pick up on it and sing it together. But again, as we are no different than the children of Israel, we tend to forget the miracles. He doesn't allow us only to turn around and be fearful of heart when the next trial comes our way. That's true. Okay? All right. It is now almost 10 o'clock. So let's go ahead and start to wrap this up. Okay, Aaron wants to ask for prayer right now for pain that's hitting him hard. When we close in prayer, we'll include Aaron in that prayer. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get someone to come up and close us in prayer. Then we'll wrap up with a few thoughts as we go to close this down. Get one of the guys, raise your hand. Come on up. Okay, Rabbi Tom, close us in prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu. Father, again, we come before you and thank you. We have so much to thank you for. We thank you for allowing us to be at yet another Torah study. Father, we thank you for all the things that we learn from these studies. And we thank you for giving us some insight so that we can apply them to our lives. Father, we thank you that a new life has come into Beit Shalom. And Father, we thank you that for everything that you are to us. You are Yahweh Yireh, you are Yahweh Rapha, you are El Shaddai. You are everything to us. And Father, we want to learn to rely entirely and completely on you. Sometimes we do necessarily turn to other sources. But Father, we know that the sources that help us get their wisdom and their skill from you. So Father, now this evening we ask you to bless each and every one of us as we go through the rest of the week and press on toward the Shabbat. We ask you to bless Rabbi Steve and Revitz and Julie and Shamash Robert and all the leadership, no matter where they're at in the world. And Father, we pray that we won't be like the Israelites who so quickly forgot all the great miracles and wonders and works they saw in Egypt. They saw the parting of the Red Sea, and then they got discouraged and murmured against Moshe. Father, we do know that if we're not careful, we could be in that company, and we don't want to be. Father, we want to be people who trust you, who love you, and who desire to serve you. So, Father, in closing, we just ask your blessing on each and every person here, on those who could not be here, on those who had to leave early, and bless us throughout this coming week. Bless us with the things that we need to stay strong. We ask you to hear and accept this prayer, B'Shem Yeshua Meshikenu. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Tom. Really appreciate that. Let me go ahead and put on the camera here. I'll wave.
For what?
Well, somebody got a mic on for a second. Give me a second here. Let me start my camera. Okay. Little beard scratch. Love you guys. Appreciate you so much. And turn off the camera there. Excuse me. Okay. How is that cough? Well, you just heard a little of it. It's doing just nicely. Would it be possible to call you at 10:30 your time so we can put the kids to bed? Sure, that'll be just fine, Olivier. No problem. Call me on the cell phone. I think you guys have that. Okay. Blessings to everyone. I hope you enjoyed the study. You're all very welcome. Praise Yah for giving me the insight of whatever was useful. And if it wasn't useful, I asked that he would just remove it and wipe it away. All right. Rebbitzon's on there. Wishing everybody good night. We do a countdown. When that countdown gets to 0, we go ahead and turn everything off and shut down here. It gives you a little bit of time to say Laila Tov, which is good night, Shavua Tov, good week. And so now in the future, we will start a rotation. I won't be doing every one of these every Tuesday, but we will rotate them a little bit and give some other people a chance to grow and experience and develop their gifts and talents in leading a study. So we'll do a little bit of that going forward. Ian, do we still have the discipleship teachings available on the website? If so, can I get the password again so I can finish those up? Yes, Ian, you can. Contact Robert, our Shamish, and he will get you the password again. Yeah, he'll get it to you somehow. All right. Just reading more of the things that people are saying. Love you to everybody. A lot of people said that they loved us, and I appreciate what we're doing. We love you guys a lot. We are called to do this because of our love for him and for his people. And I know that sometimes I come across maybe a little strong, but hopefully you feel the love. Tov. Greg, always being serious, as always. Okay. I forgot where I was in the countdown here. Oh, it just barely got started, 10:09. All right, up to 8. Okay. Excuse me. All right, we're going to start wrapping this up. Blessings to all of you. I pray that you all are blessed and have a great week. Look forward to seeing you all on Shabbat. There was somebody that was in Ontario wanted to call me. You can do Dave. You can give me a call tomorrow sometime, or how you want to work it out through calling. Robert will probably get the phone and let me know how to reach back and call you. I will be calling you from a different phone number. I have a cell phone that calls Canada, so I'll be able to work that out. Okay. All right, that's going to do it. We got to the 0 here. We're going to shut it down. Blessings and shalom to everyone.